let us all take a closer look at the whole Tom Holland and the Infinity Saga poster situation. I find it quite fascinating that I have been mulling my mind over it. You remember the time when Tom Holland seemingly spoiled the Infinity War poster, right? I mean, that video went viral and became a very memorable moment in the MCU. But the real puzzle for me is that how he did it. He was using his front camera, and when you use a front camera, which naturally mirrors the image, everything appears like a mirror reflection. So if I am recording it and I can see myself and what's behind it if I am holding the poster, if I was in place of Tom Holland. But what's really intriguing for me is that in the same video he shows a piece of paper with some confidential information which is actually not mirrored, which is supposed to be mirrored. So it's like he's playing with the perception of my mind and your minds and the perceptions of all the MCU fandom, messing with our heads in a way. Now let's delve deeper into the analysis of how he actually did that. In today's world, movie leaks they are on torrent as soon as they release, and the spoilers is not as simple for anyone genuinely letting something slip like that. It has so this all spoiler thing has evolved into a very sophisticated marketing strategy. So the main goal of is to create a buzz, generate interest, and let all everyone talking about it. And yes, absolutely, they did succeed in it by spoiling the Infinity War poster. And when he actually did that, they turned Tom Holland into the accidental spoiler machine, and it became a viral meme. And he was spoiling everything which came on its way. It doesn't matter whether on Twitter, Instagram, social handles, or even the interviews that they had with Mark Ruffalo and Benedict Cumberbatch in other movies as well. So, if he had actually revealed and legitimate confidential movie secrets, um, Disney lawyers would have pounced an situation quicker than you could have spelled Spider-Man as well. Because Disney is a marketing genius, as their lawyers don't mess around. They protect the franchise with unraveling resolve. So what's surprising to me is that I haven't come across many people pointing out the mirror and the non-mirror detail, which is quite obvious and people should have noticed it in the first instant. It's like we are caught up in a spectacle, and that's where it gets interesting. It's not real. It's a part of a well thought marketing strategy. As I said earlier, they want us to believe that a high profile actor like Tom Holland seemingly revealing secrets of one of the year's most anticipated movies, obviously an essence of the entire act. Because even if you see the reality talk show, these are very candid moments on talk shows during the promotional events. You see the spontaneous reaction, but at the end of the day, they are loosely staged, and you just happen to have a glimpse of all behind the scene. But the reality is, it's all the part of a grand scheme. You tend to forget that it's an entertainment industry, especially when Disney is in the picture. They are the undisputed king of marketing, and they know how to create a buzz to hook the audience and to create a buzz around the film they are releasing. It doesn't feel genuine. Well, it isn't. It's all the manufacturing to keep us hooked, engaged, and let us all talk about the movie. So the next time you come across something like that, just remember that it's a part of a very um, of an enchanting world of show business and the craft of the marketing industry of the entertainment industry as well. There was a time when Andrew Garfield was almost casted as the MCU Spider Man. A lot of fans don't know about it, so today I'm going to tell you and discuss about that how Garfield was almost casted as the MCU Spider Man instead of our Tom Holland. So rewind to 2014 when there was this leaked email, right? So this email is like a sneak peek behind the scenes at Sony Pictures, and it's revealed that Andrew Garfield's time as Spider-Man was coming to an end. Why? Well, because he didn't show up at an important event. Yes, you heard that right. He didn't show up at an event, and that costed him the role of Spider-Man in the MCU. Sony had big plans for the Spider-Man series. They were all set to announce the Amazing Spider-Man 3 with starring Andrew Garfield and set up in the MCU. And the guy who was supposed to make the big announcement was Cass Hirai, who was the big cheese at the Sony back then. But guess what? Andrew Garfield didn't show up. He claimed that he was too sick to attend that event. Now you might think, is missing one event such a big deal? Well, in the show business world, sometimes it is. This event no show was the only thing that led Andrew Garfield swinging away from his role as the Spider-Man. You see, the Amazing Spider-Man didn't perform as expected, as was expected by Sony and Kevin Feige. So, as Sony also had over at the box office, but it didn't do well. It's kind of a lukewarm reception, not too good, not too bad, just in the middle. So, combine that Andy missing the big event and it started to look like not so friendly neighborhood for him in the Spider-Man suit. But wait, Andrew wasn't ready to hang up his web shooter just yet. He said he wasn't fired. He chose to leave. He told this information to The Guardian in 2016 that didn't compromise who he was. He just wanted to be himself. He even defended his take on Spider Man. He didn't hold back about what went wrong with The Amazing Spider Man 2. So, according to Andrew Garfield, things started to go south during the making of the second movie, The Amazing Spider Man 2. They were cutting out parts of the story that was supposed to be there, enhancing the story, the screenplay, and everything. And when you mess with a story like that, it can break the whole thing, the whole point. And one of the major criticism that was faced in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was the screenplay and the storyline. So he explained how it all worked as a whole, and when they started removing stuff and saying no, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, and the whole story thread got tangled in between. So it's like if you had a puzzle, right? So you started taking pieces out, and picture doesn't make any more sense. So according to Andrew, this movie was a puzzle, and the makers kept taking out these pieces of the puzzle. So Andrew was pretty heartbroken about it. In one of the um, another actors to actors session, yes, it was varieties actors to actors session. He poured his out to Amy Adams, saying that he signed up to serve the story and this awesome character. He had been a fan since he was probably 3 years old. I mean, everyone loves Spider-Man. Andrew, Tom, Tobey Maguire, everyone who has played Spider-Man, they all love him. But when things went south, it broke his heart a little bit. Fast forward, fast forward, Andrew's run as the Spider-Man came to an end with the second movie, The Amazing Spider-Man, where we also lost a very own Gwen Stacy, my favorite Emma Stone. Sony decided to make a deal with Marvel Studio instead, which was supposed to go ahead with Andrew Garfield in the first place. They let Tom Holland take over Spider-Man, and the boy has been super busy. Tom has now already played Spider-Man in three movies: Spider-Man: Homecoming, Far From Home, and my personal favorite, No Way Home. Yeah. So it also we also saw him Andrew coming back in and Tobey Maguire coming back in No Way Home. So that was pretty. That was quite a nostalgia ride for you, me, and everyone who's Marvel fan and individual fans of the previous Spider-Man as well. So has also been uh, seen in other Avengers movie, Captain America Civil War as well. So Sony started their own shared universe of the Marvel character, kind of building like own comic book, bringing in the Sinister Six as well. So Catwoman as well. Um, they also brought Venom, small BS as well. So these are kind of a things that Sony decided to have a shared universe just like the MCU. So yeah, that's the whole scoop of why Andrew Garfield said goodbye to his Spidey suit and Tom Holland swung in action in his place. It's a story behind the scene drama, missed events, and a heartbroken actor who just wanted to do justice to the character that he loved. And that's how Andrew Spider-Man went to Tom Holland Spider-Man, and we got to see him in MCU as the main Spider-Man instead of Andrew. But every actor, whether Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, everyone has played their part pretty perfectly. And when they all came together far from home, it was such a delight to watch. I'm pretty sure you enjoyed it as well. Having touched the topic of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Andrew Garfield's exit from it, there was also a little piece of something that left, but that Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone left in all of us, in me and you as well. So the energy that they shared together was always loving and caring, and it was pretty unfortunate that these two are not together anymore. So I just talk about it a little bit. So I mean, a lot of people um, don't really know. Actually, they never told Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone has never told us about why did they break up and what happened between us. So I think most of the people assume like they just wanted to have a different thing. So Andrew might wanted to start a family, have kids, build a little nest, and all of that. But maybe that Emma Stone might have different plans regarding career. She wanted to focus on her career, and that's where the maybe the problem started. The priorities were like two ships passing in the night. See, when priorities don't match, it can be a real deal breaker in any relationship. It's like one person thinks something is super important, but the other person doesn't see it the same way as the other one does. So that's, I believe, what happened between Andrew and Emma. Breaking up isn't always the solution. Instead of just going separate ways, it's important to talk it out. I'm pretty sure they might have done some, but they could have never reached a point where they could have agreed on the same thing. You're going to sit down, have a good old chat. Sometimes one person might need to bend a little, compromise to make a relationship work. And that's what makes a relationship very beautiful. It's about finding the middle ground and making things work even when your priorities doesn't quite add up. So remember, it's not about splitting, it's about taking out time and finding a way to make it work. That's the key to be happy in a long lasting relationship. And I just wish that these two work together. So I will just end it by saying a very beautiful, actually something that was said by Andrew Garfield about Emma Stone. He quoted that I will one day write a book about how I feel about every aspect of Emma Stone. She is a full genius. She has found her genius and is giving it all so fully and beautifully. I think everyone who works with her, brushes shoulders with her, or even makes eye contacts with her gets a lot of sunshine. Thank you. Having already touched the topic of how almost Andrew Garfield was casted as the MCU Spider-Man instead of Tom Holland, so let's touch another topic of the MCU, that why Edward Norton was let go of playing the Incredible Hulk in the Avengers movie and was eventually replaced by Mark Ruffalo. It is actually quite a tale of the onset tension, creative clashes, and some public sparring. So let's go back to 2018. Marvel Studio just launched its second film in the ever expanding Marvel Cinematic Universe known as the Incredible Hulk. Edward Norton was casted as the not so jolly green giant Bruce Banner, and all seemed well at that time. However, after the film was released, reports stated that circulating that Norton was a tough cookie to work on the set. He was not so collaborative with the squad wife, with the directors, and just difficult to work with. So he was not just an average actor. He was very controlling. Instead of having a lot of insisted on having a lot of creative control, including rewriting a script to his liking, to his composure and his comfort. Edward Norton himself confirmed this when, during a roast of Bruce Willis, he openly admitted, "Yes, that I tried to be like you. I did a big action movie called The Incredible Hulk. You know what went wrong? I wanted a better script. He wanted a better script." This statement stirred the pot as it highlighted the tension between Norton and the studios. It's important to note that in Hollywood, actors don't usually get a say in script writing, so Norton's approach was quite unusual. In Hollywood, in Hollywood, you really need to go according to the directors because the script is the king and not hero is the king in the movies, unlike in Bollywood's. Marvel Insiders even went as far as describing Norton as a wolf in the henhouse. This was quite a statement back then. This paints a picture of someone who wanted to have things his way, which can be a challenge when you are part of a massive production like Marvel and Disney, like a superhero movie, within set in the by Marvel Comics and Stan Lee. Real showdown, however, happened in 2010 when Marvel was gearing up to announce the big Avengers movie at the San Diego Comic Con. Kevin Feige, the head honcho at the Marvel, released a statement explaining why they chose to part away with Edward Norton. He emphasized that it really wasn't about money, but rather about finding an actor who could work well with the rest of the cast, with the directors, and everyone involved in the studio and the set, and be a better team player. They wanted someone who can embrace the collaborative spirit of the project, which is crucial for the cinematic universe as interconnected Marvel, and looking forward in the up till 2013, up till Avengers Endgame. Nordvoss agent didn't take this lightly and fired back, claiming that Kevin Feige initially wanted Norton to continue playing the Hulk, and the decision to let him go appeared to be financially motivated. So these two statements, one by Kevin Feige and by Edward Norton's managers, are very contrasting and opposite. They called Feige comments mean-spirited, unprofessional, and clearly defamatory. The feud had now gone on public, and it made headlines in the entertainment world back then. Edward Norton also went far as to say he released a statement to one of the article for Entertainment Weekly expressing his love for the Hulk character and his pride In the script he had written, he highlighted how collaborative he is at the heart of filmmaking, and unfortunately, the creative process would have been at a private matter, was misrepresented publicly as a dispute. Norton didn't want all of his drama to overshadow the movie himself, emphasize the film should speak for itself. So we can really say that the production was right in its own when Edward Norton, being such a senior actor back then, still is emphasis on his script, wanted to do only for the betterment of the script. So that's the background of why Edward Norton and Marvel had a falling out. It was a combination of creative controls, behind the scenes drama that led to Norton being replaced by Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk in the Avengers movie. Now, Mark Ruffalo stepped into the situation with a degree of uncertainty. For me, there's a contrasting difference between Mark Ruffalo and Edward Norton, both in terms of physique and age and the way they represent themselves in terms of the acting and the roles they play. So he shared his experience in an interview with them in a podcast where he mentioned being unsure initially, but ultimately go ahead from Norton, who told him all's fair in love and war. This change in casting certainly brought a new dynamic to the character of her, as I just said, because of different portrayals of the character by the two actors, and also set the stage for the new era in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It also underscores the importance of collaboration and the teamwork in the world of blockbuster filmmaking, especially if the budget is and the level is of a MCU, even when you're dealing with a larger than life superheroes like the Incredible Hulk. So yeah, that's the long and short of it. Drama on set, creative differences, and a public feud ultimately led to Edward Norton exits from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, making way for Mark Ruffalo to step in and so creating a character for a lifetime for everyone to remember. So yeah, that's what the tale for Andrew leaving MCU as Spider-Man and Edward Norton leaving the MCU forever as Mark Ruffalo. Sorry, not as Mark Ruffalo, as Bruce Banner. Since we are already discussing about the what happened at the academy with Will Smith and Chris Rock, so referring to the similar incident, let's talk about what happened when on a national television that Jada Pink, Mrs. Smith, admitted in front of everyone that how she was cheating behind Will Smith's back. So let's dive into a topic that made headlines back then and stirring up quite a bit back then. So there were some people making fun of Will Smith due to Jada's cheating. It's a pretty sensitive subject, so let's break it down in simple terms and take a closer look at what happened back then. You see, making jokes about a guy's masculinity is something that's been around for ages. It's like hitting a nerve for many men, and nothing gets them more riled up than questioning their pride, especially when it comes to their wife or girlfriend. It's a sore point that can trigger some very, very strong reactions that people need to be a bit more sensitive about it, which they aren't in today's world. Now you see Will Smith, he's a pretty big deal, right? He's tall, good looking, loaded with cash, tall, dark, handsome. That's what the term being used by the girls. He's known all over the world about his success and can really rub some folks the wrong way. You know, when you are feeling envious of someone who is as good as Will Smith, it's like a pressure cooker about to blow. He's got the looks, the money, and always seem to be happy. Like a cherishful and the lovable person, loved by the kids as well. This can really get under the skin, under people's skin. And then out of the blue, it is revealed that his wife is cheating on him, on a man like Will Smith, with characteristics I have just explained. Now imagine you're feeling the sense of jealousy towards a guy like Will Smith. He seems to have it all, as I mentioned again and again, the good looks, the money, and happiness. And then this bombshell drops. If you're a well adjusted, confident person, you might feel bad for Will Smith. You'd think, man, that's tough, he didn't deserve this, no one deserves in this world. But if you are a jealous type of an insecure type of person, you might actually be very happy about it. You start calling him names. I can't even talk about it and seems less manly, like he's not in control and all. It's very strange and disgusting, right? All the fame, fortune, and loving family, but some people still think him of less of a man because of just one incident that happened, which he didn't have control over it as well. They were usually with people who secretly wish that could be like Will Smith, but won't admit it because they are this insecure type of guys. They are the only ones who look at his wife and wonder, why can't that be me? Some are even women who secretly wish that could be him, but they won't say it out loud. Obviously, there are secure women as well. And also, let me add to it, people love to see successful people getting dragged down because they can't reach there, so they can't see other guys reach there as well. It's like a dark pleasure for men, a mix of jealousy, spite, hidden behind jokes. They might be feeling resentful and envious, and instead of dealing with those feelings, they just turn to humor as a cover for them. They disguise their envy and resentment with laughter, and it's all just a big joke, hiding their insecurity. So that's why people are making fun of Will Smith over this whole situation. It's not cool, but it's for some. But that's how some people operate. You can't control them. They let their jealousy and insecurities get the best of them, and they're trying to be a successful man, bring down to the notch. It's a reminder that sometimes we all need to be a more understanding, empathic towards people around us, be sympathetic around people rather than jumping around, making jokes hiding our insecurity. Because I think the world needs to be a better place, and that can't be a better place if incidents like this happen over and over again. Since we have already dived very deeper into this whole Will Smith and Jada Smith controversy, so let's conclude it with a few final words which I would like to add up. So, is Jada Pink Smith correct in saying that marrying Will Smith basically ruined her life? Well, it's more like messing up his life in a big way. But before we get into all that, let's break it down into even more simpler terms for you guys. Imagine a younger Will Smith who's had a really tough upbringing. His dad treated his mom badly for years, was unfaithful, and life at home was far from easy. Will's childhood was rough to say the least. All he was ever wanted to get married, love his wife, and create a loving family with his children, giving the happy childhood that he never had. Any honest person, any honest man in his place would have done the same. Will is what you might call wired for monogamy. He is the kind of a guy who wants to be with just one woman, stay loyal, and build a strong, lasting relationship. But then comes along Jada Pink, who's a bit more free spirit, if that's the term I would like to say. She's all about having an open relationship, which means she wants to have the freedom to see other people outside of the marriage. This is the exact opposite of Will actually wanted. Will wants, but he goes along with it to make his wife even more happy. It's not his style at all. He every time he walks out the door to meet another guy, it breaks his heart. And he doesn't want to break his family. He's desperate to make the marriage work. Now you see, for some people are naturally meant to be the just person, while others feel differently and want more freedom in their relationship. Will and Jada are like oil and water in this regard. They are the exact opposite in what relationship means to them. When two people who are so fundamentally different in such a big way get together, it's like a never ending disaster unfolding before your eyes, even kind of a car crash that you have been watching for years. You haven't watched it on YouTube, how car crash. So it's kind of a relationship like that, with shady little details coming out one by one. From that interview to the Oscars, then later interview of Jada Pink as well. It's all there, you can see, and you know about it as well. So the whole marriage has turned into a punching bag, a meme, and a source of joke for everyone except the people involved. It's really disheartening for a person like Will Smith. At the end, at the end of the day, Will Smith has done nothing but put a brave face, trying to keep his head held high, his reputation, his family, and even the strongest people have their limits. And it's clear he reached his a long time ago. People might say things like he's spineless, a pushover, loser, and whatnot, but that's really simple and pretty cruel way of describing the sad story of Will Smith. It's like one of those early in life relationships when you realize pretty quickly that partner just isn't the one. There are big differences and a lot of red flag like a lot of changey term uses these days. Most people would eventually call it quit, but just in case it goes on and on and on, because one of the partners is so desperate to make things work, not to fail, and held the family together. It's a tough situation, like for decades of sunk cost fallacy and the scars of a rough childhood keeping two souls tied together when they have no business doing together. Absolutely not. Not even meant for be together, but just for the sake of family and a better life to give to the children. He's doing all of it. So in the end, marrying a man, she wasn't actually compatible with him. It's a complete disaster for both of them. He put it up with it and she had a fun, but it really took on my man. It's not just about her, it's a complicated mess that affected both of their life in a very, very bad manner. Now we are going to talk about J.K. Rowling. Yes, J.K. Rowling, the most famous author of the Harry Potter series, who earlier back then made a statement on a Twitter handle while responding to a tweet used the term people who menstruate instead of using the term women. In her tweet, J.K. Rowling argued that there's already a perfect good word for those who menstruate, and that word is women. While she was just expressing her opinion, many people took issue with this, viewing it as a neglect of the rights and identities of the transgender people who may identify as both men and women. This led to an outpouring of criticism on Twitter, with many accusing her of being transphobic. It was later clarified by J.K. Rowling uh, that her position by tweeting that she loves and supports transgender individuals, but still firmly believes in distinguishing between men and women based on biological sex. This further fumed the flames of the controversy, and it quickly escalated into a massive storm of social media backlash that J.K. Rowling likely did not foresee. As the situation uh, grew more, J.K. Rowling decided to write a lengthy essay explaining her perspective and attempting to shield herself from the backlash. In the essay, she revealed that she had personal experience with a sexual assault and understood the intimate and complex nature of this issue. Many people have criticized her for not accepting and recognizing transgender people who identify as men and women, arguing that she could be more inclusive and accepting. Some has questioned her authorship of Harry Potter series, suggesting that someone else might have written as a form of protest against her views, which I personally found it very silly. Now, my personal view is that J.K. Rowling should consider offering an apology and reevaluating her priorities. I don't think that's right to diminish her significant literary contribution just because of her opinion or significance issue. People can have different viewpoints, and that shouldn't take away from their achievements. But on the other hand, there are people who see J.K. Rowling as a heroic figure for defending women rights, particularly those rooted in biological sex. They argue that society often prioritizes men's feelings over women's rights and safety. They also point out that J.K. Rowling is willing to stand up for women despite the bullying, threats, and harassment she faces from activists who oppose her views on gender and sex. J.K. Rowling, I think, uses her influential position to advocate the idea that erasing women's sex based rights is not okay, which is true. She insists that males are not females and that women's oppression is primarily sex based rather than identity based. This perspective underscores the need for single sex spaces and single beds rights and protections. Furthermore, it's also important to note that J.K. Rowling's financial resources provide her with a degree of safety that most women do not have. She received a significant number of threats. Many women may not be too intimidated to speak about such issues due to the fear of violence and retaliation. Additionally speaking, J.K. Rowling has spoken out her concerns regarding medical ethics. She is critical of practices such as the surgery or alteration of children's genitals and the administration of cross-sex hormones to young people, highlighting the physical, mental, and cognition risks and side effects. She is also critical of what she sees as movement targeting gender confused children. In her eyes, Hoffa supports J.K. Rowling is a heroic defender of both children and women's rights. They believe she deserves praise for her willingness to stand up to these causes even in the face of significant opposition, including the threats of violence and harassment from those who disagree with her. So there we are, J.K. Rowling controversy from different perspective from many people. Some might agree with us, some might not. But it's important to stand on your firm beliefs, go out there, and if you have something to say, debate on a platform and see what's right. Be open to listening and to be open to different people's opinions as well. So we all know about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's defamation case against each other. But what we don't know is how it started and how things went downhill from there on. So today we are going to talk about how things started and how things ended. So let's dive deeper into Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's legal saga. It's all like a real life daily soap opera, so there's a plenty to talk about. So Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, you might remember from their roles in Pirates of the Caribbean and the Aquaman. The two were quite a power couple back then. They started dating in 2012 when they first met while shooting for a film called The Rum Diary. The movie is based on a book by Hunter S. Thompson, by the way. But at the twist, the relation was still in a relationship with Vanessa Paradise, whom he had been with 14 years and has two kids. That's a bit messy, but love can be complicated, right? Fast forward, they got hitched in February 2015, but the marriage didn't last long. Less than 2 years to be exact, in May 2016, Amber filed divorce, citing differences. They usually go on two reasons for divorce, right? But there was things getting interesting. Around the time of the divorce, Amber accused Johnny of domestic violence. She even showed up in court with a photograph of herself, spotted a bruised face, and the photo led to a judge ordering Johnny to stay away from her. That's when the actual drama started. They both released a joint statement saying that their relationship was passionate and sometimes volatile, but they always filled with love. They also claimed that they never made false accusations for financial gains and no intention of harming each other. Well, after it, everything seems vague. It seemed that like they wanted to be paid, put in all behind. In August 2016, they agreed on a divorce settlement, and by January, a judge finalized the split. But the drama didn't stop. They kept feuding in public, including Amber Heard's decision to donate the $7 million divorce, I think, settlement to the American Civil Liberties Union, an organization she is ambassador for. And also, Johnny Depp took a legal action in the UK in November 20, and High Court in the UK dismissed Johnny's libel lawsuit against the publisher of the British tabloid The Sun. The tabloid has called him a wife beater in an article. The trial lasted 3 weeks, including some wild testimonies by both Johnny and Amber, including heavy drug use and allegations of violations on both sides. After losing in the UK, Depp was also pushed off his role in Warner Bros. Fantastic Beasts 3, which I was personally disappointed because I'm a big Johnny Depp fan, and not having to see him in Fantastic Beasts 3 as Grindelwald was really disappointing for me because he nailed in the trailer and the look that was first presented to us. So he took a significant blow on his career. So, the heart of the matter, the new trial in Virginia, Amber Heard wrote an op-ed in December 2018 for the Washington Post titled, I spoke up against my sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. This has to change. In the op-ed, she also talked about her experience with the abuse and for the Congress to re-authorize and strengthen the Violence Against the Women's Act. All seems vague now. Even though she didn't name Johnny in the piece, she felt like she was talking about him and took her to court for something around $50 million. Depp claimed that allegations of domestic abuse were false and that were a part of a scheme to boost her career. Heard fired back with her own $100 million court claim this time. She argued that the op-ed addressed important issues like legislation, while Johnny's statement about her did not shouldn't be protected under the First Amendment. The trial happening in Virginia and its expectation to last for more than a month. The court has to select a civil jury of 7 members and four alternatives. The judge in charge, I really forgot the name. And the drama didn't stop there. Both Johnny and Amber are expected to take the stands and have been served by several people, including lawyers and several A-listers as well. So, like Elon Musk, James Franco were also appeared in court, through some through in person or some through video conference as well. So there you get it, the messy, the complicated, the highly publicized legal battle between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. So after the long month trial, we all know what happened, who won the case. I'm not going there. It's up to the court to decide who were there, and at the end of the day, I really hope both are leading a very happy life. The other story that we could talk about apart from RDJ was of Marilyn Monroe. So she was one of the most iconic Hollywood figure. She was quite fascinating character to say the least. She was born in 1926 as one of those names instantly came upon the images of glamorous Hollywood eras of the 1950s. But her journey to stardom was no cakewalk. She began as a model and her striking looks and charisma quickly found a way into the world of acting. It wasn't long before she got big breaks in the movies like Gentlemen Prefer Blonde and How to Marry a Millionaire. Now, when we think about Miss Manore, we often think about her as the ultimate sex symbol, and she understandably was, because she was more than just a pretty face. She could act, she did it. Her role in something like It Hot is still considered as one of the most finest comedic performances in the movie history. But let's talk about one of the most iconic moments, the white dress and the subway grid. You know that one from the movie The 7 Year Itch. That scene alone turned her into a legend, and the image is etched in the annals of pop culture forever. From old people to people of my parents' age and me, they all know about it. Her personal life was a roller coaster to say the least. She walked down the aisle 3 times, including marriages to baseball legend, the playwright. Her relationship with high-profile men were rumored to connection with President John F. Kennedy, fueled endless rumors and conspiracy theories. But her life took a tragic turn when she passed away in 1962 at a very, very young age of 36 due to a presumably drug overdose. The circumstances surrounding her death has been a subject of debate for over the years and are still today. We may speculate that whether it was an accident, a suicide, or something more sinister. The truth remains elusive, and the question that continues to increase and haunt everyone even today. So, who was Marilyn Monroe at the end of the day? She was a complex woman, a combination of talent and sex appeal. She was a star who burned brightly but burned out far too soon. Her legacy continues to loom large over Hollywood and the world of entertainment. Marilyn Monroe wasn't just an actress and sex symbol, she was a cultural icon, a symbol of an era in a woman whose life was filled with glamour and tragedy. It's amazing how a single person can leave such a lasting impact on the world. Since we have taken this topic, let's also talk about the mysterious circumstances surrounding her death. This is like having an old good chat with yourself, so we'll take a time to explore the details. It's highly likely that Marilyn Monroe overdosed on her own. She had her fair share of personal demons, battled drug use for a long time, and sadly, that's often how it goes for people in her situation. Now, why is so much further about her death? Well, it goes back to 1962 and the fact that a whole bunch of evidence has mysteriously disappeared after her death. We're talking about her phone call records, photo taken at the scene of her death, auto, autopsy samples, and even the quality of the initial police investigation. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle with not some but many pieces missing. First of all, a bunch of Marilyn enthusiast collectors wanted a piece of her legacy, so they snatched some of the evidence like missing photos, as for a phone records, well, they might have been misplaced and eventually tossed out. The autopsy specimens, they were tragically destroyed because someone figured extra tests weren't needed, since her death appeared to be a clear case of suicide. No one took it seriously. The detectives back in the day seemed to be pretty convinced that it was a suicide too. So they didn't put much effort in the investigation. They just went through the motions, which didn't help much. Now, with all the evidence missing and lackluster investigation, with all the evidence missing and the lackluster investigation, let the door wide open for conspiracy theories of all sorts. People love to speculate what might have happened. It also leaves room for Marilyn's fans to imagine a different ending for their beloved icon. They find it hard to accept that behind the glamorous and sassy persona was a very human, vulnerable, and sometimes a sad woman. To add to the confusion, there were folks who tried to make a quick buck by spreading rumors and gossip about her. It didn't help clear things either. Here's an interesting twist in this all death saga. She was acquaintance with Judy Garland. After her death, Judy had a theory. She thought that Marilyn might have woken all up groggy after taking her initial dose of sedatives and not realizing she has already ingested more, which turned out to be a lethal amount of drugs. Judy even had fears she might take the same mistake someday, and sadly, she did according to her. We never truly know whether her death was an accident, a suicide, or something else altogether. It's one of those mysteries that's likely to remain unsolved forever. So while people continue to debate and speculate, we have never have a concrete answer while puzzling this question about our iconic Marilyn Monroe. So very recently, one of the most popular actors ever acted in a sitcom, Matthew Perry, also known as Chandler Bing, who played Chandler Bing in a American sitcom called Friends, recently passed away. And a lot of discussion about the mental health problem needs to be discussed in public as well about it. So I will just share a bit of my what I feel about overall going situation. When we talk about people's reaction to passing away of celebrities like Matthew Perry, it can get pretty complicated. People sometimes forget that they are not actually friends or family with these famous personalities. They are just fans, and this confusion can often lead to some pretty strong emotions and opinion about their personal life. Now, when it comes to the life of Matthew Perry, he had shared his share of struggles, especially with the substance abuse that he had over the years. Some people could relate to what he's going through, and they saw it as a cry for help. But others unfortunately just labeled him as a junkie without knowing didn't really understanding the complexity of the situation. The thing about Matthew Perry was that he was pretty upfront, blunt, and honest about his addictions and how he needed help. He was willing to share his struggles and the adversity that he was going through, and that not something everyone openly go on a public platform and talk about it. He also opened about his mental health issues, which made him more relatable to some people who was facing uh, similar kind of situations as him. But you see, not everyone can wrap their head around why individuals with mental health disorders turn to substance abuse, especially drugs. For some, it's tough to comprehend. However, it's crucial to realize that most of the time, the individuals use the substance as a way to cope up with the symptoms for their mental health conditions, not for the same reason others might use drugs as well. It's like a secondary problem that often goes unnoticed because it's tangled up with the illness. And this, my friend, leads to a lot of judgment and misunderstanding about the passing of Matthew Perry. So let's talk about how society reacts to the situation. There's always a big uproar about mental health awareness when some famous personality passes away, just like Matthew Perry. People start talking about the need to do something to raise awareness, but it tends to fade away pretty quickly as the days pass of the actor's death anniversary. People just all this mental health awareness just vanishes away in the air, in thin air. It's like the news cycle, right? Think about how fast we can move from tragedies like school shootings, the country moves for a while, but then it's almost like already preparing for the next big thing. It becomes a day-to-day thing like nothing ever happened. I wish I could believe that this time might be different, that this could be a moment where we finally take concrete and stubble actions to increase the awareness about mental health. But the sad reality is nothing's gonna happen if I'm gonna wish, you're gonna wish. Um, things are gonna remain the same, and will always remain same as they always are. Is not really a top priority for the government, for anyone. It just stays unrecognized and underfunded. They all wanted to invest in war and schemes would grab votes and attention, and that's it. Matthew Perry's story could serve as a catalyst for some individuals to seek help. He was not less than an ideal, a comfort character for a lot of people, just as he would have wanted. Some communities might use the story to push for better health support, but here's the problem as well. It comes at a price, which is money, of course, and there aren't enough resources for people to make a real change. It's a it's very challenging situation, and honestly, I don't see going much further too long. I can't help but feel really saddened by Matthew Perry's death. He was a remarkable talent and left us too far too soon. But I was hoping for more progress before this point, especially after the passing of another legend, Robin Williams. His life and death should be the wake up call. However, it seems going to take some time even more serious than the celebrity deaths. Perhaps even more serious than just school shootings to truly shake the country and the entire globe to make us prioritize mental health awareness. I'm not sure if it will happen in my lifetime, but I'm sincerely hope it does because it's a very crucial issue that deserves more attention and more support. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. Peace out and rest in peace, Matthew Perry. Thank you for giving this channel away. Why Mission Impossible Saga will always be better than the Fast and Furious franchise. So today we are going to talk about something really, really interesting, the world of action movies and how it's been changing. For a while, superheroes were all in rage of the world movies, Captain America, Iron Man, Superman, Batman, Secret Identities, and all that stuff. But people are getting a bit tired of it. This is what I feel. All the Marvel movies, Disney movies, Star Trek, Star Wars, and everything. In recent years, some new action franchise has been stealing the spotlight. I am talking about movies like John Wick, Kingsman, and the Pirates of the Caribbean. And don't forget the return of the some of the classic tales such as the Rambo, the Matrix, Indiana Jones, and they have made a very big comeback in the recent years. Especially the Matrix is one of been my favorite as well. I'm a big Keanu Reeves fan. Now we could talk about the modern action franchises, two of them which really stand out. One being the Mission Impossible, starring Tom Cruise, and another one starring Vin Diesel, the Fast and the Furious franchise. The two have been crushing at the box office and fans just love them. I'm also a big fan of both the franchises. But among this, how can we forget about some of the mixture of classic and the modern action film, the James Bond film? James Bond is like a biggest action hero, the biggest legend in the action world movies, and probably it's been around forever, even before I was born, and it's in a league of its own, way ahead of uh, Fast and Furious and Mission Impossible. The Bond franchise kind of its own Star Trek in a science fiction and never ending, and there are always more stories to tell. But looking forward to a new what do you call looking forward to the new Tom Cruise and the Vin Diesel movie as well. So we now compare the Mission Impossible and the Fast and Furious might be seem a bit silly. Mission Impossible has some seriously made, well-made films with great directors, but Fast and Furious, well, it's got a different vibe altogether. Sure, it makes a lot of money with all the nonsense action, but some people might think that the quality is a bit all over the place, and I think we can arguably agree over that as well. Talking about one of the big things that set Mission Impossible apart is Tom Cruise doing his own stunts, because that's also a very good marketing strategy when you do your own stunts. I mean, that guy has come really close to a danger while filming some incredible action scenes. Hanging out to the plane, riding a motorcycle off the cliff. It's like watching a modern day superheroes and without any superpowers. Fast and Furious, on the other hand, relies heavily on CGI, computer generated effects for its crazy stunts. They are fun to watch, but it's pretty clear that it's a movie magic, it's all CGI generated action doubles and stuff like that. The franchise goes so big that some of the stuff they do, like going places, feels like a joke. And while on the other hand, Mission Impossible is really some sleek actions which really sets it apart from the Fast and Furious franchise as well. Fast and Furious had turned into a superhero like franchise, what I feel, where anything goes. Characters, suicides, no one dies, physics doesn't really matter. It's all wild. But Mission Impossible, they put more thought into the bad guys, the idea of an evil AI network feels kind of real. Heavily excited for the second part of that reckoning as well. Vin Diesel is a charismatic action star, but when it comes to drama, it's a very different story altogether. The actor lacks the emotional depth. Emotional depth. The characters lack characters and can be a bit laughable as well. While talking about Mission Impossible again, they have built a very strong characters. They keep evolving. Some come back, some die. You really resonate with the characters even when they die. You get to know more about Ethan characters with each movie, where it's pretty cool to see how supporting characters grow too as well. Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible Fallout for me stands out one of the coolest villains in the history of Mission Impossible franchise. So Mission Impossible seems to have a clear edge when it comes to storytelling, stunts, and character development. But hey, if you have a crazy action and a big explosion, Fast and Furious might be your jam. So you might be a Fast and Furious fan or a Mission Impossible fan, but you really got to pick a side, and for me, it's Mission Impossible. We are going to talk about two of the most controversial stars in Hollywood, one being Robert Downey Jr., our very own Iron Man, and the one being Marilyn Monroe. So let's start with RDJ. This man is not just a talented actor, he is also a real American success story. So let's make it through a roller coaster of his life. RDJ's story begins with a very difficult chapter in his life. He was introduced to drug at a very young age by his own father. As he grew into his late teens and early 20s, he was heading towards a very, very dangerous path. If you remember seeing him in the film Less Than Zero, he was often stoned during his filming. It wasn't acting, it was like a window in his open life. Other films like 1996 and Operation Dumbo Drop showcased his struggle in the business industry. It was like each movie he was in is documented his fall down a rabbit hole. Sure, his films were making money, but he wasn't putting his best effort. In 1996, during one particularly dark period, he was as high as a kite and broke into his house, mistakenly thinking that it was his own. This led to his arrest and charges of possession of various drugs like cocaine and heroin. The court gave him 3 years of probation, but as things tend to go with addiction, he missed a court ordered drug test in I think 97, leading to another arrest, which is a breach of court. He found himself broke again, sleeping in rat infested alley and becoming a laughing stock in Hollywood. Uh, in 96, I guess he missed another drug test and faced the consequences. So his life has been a downhill ever since he got an addiction of drugs. In the court, he was seen making a statement that shocked many. His statement stated that taking drugs to me is like having a shotgun in my mouth with my finger on the trigger and like the taste of the gunmetal. That really explains that he has some serious issues with that. Those words painted a haunting pictures of his struggle. He was thrown into jail once again. As if things weren't bad enough, in 2000 he got a role on a TV show called Alive. McBeal, I think, yes, it was the name of the show, but shortly after he was found wandering around barefoot, completely out of it. His wife left him, taking their son with her, and then um, he just, you know, it just became very bad. He became unemployed, unreliable, and morally and financially bankrupt. It seemed like he had hit rock bottom. But how when life push you back, it's something good's gonna happen. So in a surprising turns of event, his life took a different trajectory. His fellow actor and friend decided to give him a chance. There was a catch though. The insurance cost for RDJ was through the roof due to his troubled past, but his friend stepped in personally, helped him covers those financial insurance. In the same year, RDJ met a woman who became his current wife. Their relationship had been a 5 year courtship, but before marrying him in 2005, she had one condition. He had to get clean and sober. Arden just stopped using. He went to rehab, joined a 12-step program, and even took a martial arts to keep himself on the right path. Nowadays, he says to be the strongest thing he's consumed is the good old espresso. The turning point in Ardy's career was, however, the 2008 when he became a lovable Tony Stark Iron Man. Also known for his first thing as Iron Man, he made a whooping $5 million, I think. But then something, not $5 million, I think it was a little bit less. But that's something incredible happened in the blockbuster Endgame. He managed to get reportedly a pocket astonishes of $75 million. Yes, $75 million. And here's the happy ending to the remarkable journey of RDJ. He has been happily married for over 15 years and is proud of his three children. He's become one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood, starring from so many MCU movies, and recently came Oppenheimer as well. And his journey from the depth of addiction to the pinnacle of success is just truly inspiring. He's truly found his way back home stronger than ever. RD's story is a testament of power, of recovery, redemption, and resilience. It's a true American story. Let us all take a closer look at the whole Tom Holland and the Infinity Saga poster situation. I find it quite fascinating that I have been mulling my mind over it. You remember the time when Tom Holland seemingly spoiled the Infinity War poster, right? I mean, that video went viral and became a very memorable moment in the MCU. But the real puzzle for me is that how he did it. He was using his front camera, and when you use a front camera, which naturally mirrors the image, everything appears like a mirror reflection. So if I am recording it and I can see myself and what's behind it if I am holding the poster, if I was in place of Tom Holland. But what's really intriguing for me is that in the same video he shows a piece of paper with some confidential information which is actually not mirrored, which is supposed to be mirrored. So it's like he's playing with the perception of my mind and your minds and the perceptions of all the MCU fandom, messing with our heads in a way. Now let's delve deeper into the analysis of how he actually did that. In today's world, movie leaks they are on torrent as soon as the release, and the spoilers is not as simple for anyone genuinely letting something slip like that. It has so this all spoiler thing has evolved into a very sophisticated marketing strategy. So the main goal of is to create a buzz, generate interest, and let all everyone talking about it. And yes, absolutely, they did succeed in it by spoiling the Infinity War poster. And when he actually did that, they turned Tom Holland into the accidental spoiler machine, and it became a viral meme. And he was spoiling everything which came on its way. It doesn't matter whether on Twitter, Instagram, social handles, or even the interviews that they had with Mark Ruffalo and Benedict Cumberbatch in other movies as well. So, if he had actually revealed and legitimate confidential movie secrets, um, Disney lawyers would have pounced an situation quicker than you could have spelled Spider-Man as well. Because Disney is a marketing genius, as their lawyers don't mess around. They protect their franchise with unraveling resolve. So what's surprising to me is that I haven't come across many people pointing out the mirror and the non-mirror detail, which is quite obvious and people should have noticed it in the first instant. It's like we are caught up in a spectacle, and that's where it gets interesting. It's not real. It's a part of a well thought marketing strategy. As I said earlier, they want us to believe that he accidentally giving away the information. Even a high profile actor like Tom Holland seemingly revealing secrets of one of the year's most anticipated movies, obviously an essence of the entire act. Because even if you see the reality talk show, these are very candid moments on talk shows during the promotional events. You see the spontaneous reaction, but at the end of the day, they are loosely staged, and you just happen to have a glimpse of all behind the scene. But the reality is, it's all the part of a grand scheme. You tend to forget that it's an entertainment industry, especially when Disney is in the picture. They are the undisputed king of marketing, and they know how to create a buzz to hook the audience and to create a buzz around the film they are releasing. It doesn't feel genuine. Well, it isn't. It's all the manufacturing to keep us hooked, engaged, and let us all talk about the movie. So the next time you come across something like that, just remember that it's a part of a very um, of an enchanting world of show business and the craft of the marketing industry of the entertainment industry as well. Who can forget what happened at the 94th Academy Awards when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock in front of everyone? I saw it, you saw it, the world saw it. And I think that was the most infamous incident ever happened in the Academy, as far as I can recall. For me, it's probably the most infamous one. So let's dive deeper into this whole Will Smith and Chris Raga Oscar incident, whatever you want to call it. So picture this: the 94th Academy Award. We're cruising along. Everything seems pretty normal. Chris Rock's hosting it, making his jokes as he usually does, sitting there, Jada Pink and Will Smith, and then bam! Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on live TV in front of everyone. It was one of those moments that make your jaw drop and you can't help but talk about it. Before stepping any further, I remember a very great line which was said by Michael G. Scott, sorry. There's no such thing as appropriate joke because that's why it's a joke. So at the end of the day, it's just a joke and nothing to be serious about. The jokes are meant for laughing everyone. But for Will Smith, the things were quite different. Will Smith's reaction to Chris Rock's joke was about his wife's hair loss condition was something. It was a kind of moment that sticks to your memory. And after that incident happened, the 40 minutes later, Will Smith goes on to win the Best Actor award, and his acceptance speech is so emotional. It's like trying to win an award for acting in real life. He's all about love, going crazy, doing things, and it feels like he wanted to erase the rest of the ceremony from our minds. But that's not gonna happen, even if you have delivered a performance of your lifetime. But at the most prestigious ceremony, you go on to slap the host in front of everyone on live TV. I don't think that no no amount of acting could save you from that incident. Things got really interesting after that. The slap turned into a big deal about the black masculinity. Everyone's talking about it. It became a hot topic overnight globally, and everyone has to say something about it. Social media memes were driven. Most prestigious news channels, newspaper, media articles all had something to say about it. Some folks supported Chris Rocks about how it's just a joke, should have let it slide, and while others were firmly on Team Will Smith because he was very protective of his wife. Will Smith didn't let it slide though. He spent a lot of time thinking, resonating, and saying sorry and working on himself. Firstly, he posted an apology on Instagram, Facebook, and then he made a video apologizing to Chris Rocks. Even his wife Jada trying for them to reconcile. It was a whole thing, all drama going on in the social media. Talking about Chris Rock, he didn't had much to say about it. He was out there touring with his comedy show called Ego Death. During a show, he made a few jokes about the slab. It seemed like he wasn't too bothered about it, and that's what the real spirit is. He let it slide and also took it pretty maturely, I would say. In Atlanta, he joked about getting smacked by Will Smith and referring to the intimidating Graham suit K night. Also, in several places, there's a whole show about it. You can watch it on your OTT platform as well. And how he talked about Will Smith has played Muhammad Ali, emphasizing that uh, Will Smith has a bigger mas- uh, masculinity than him, physiques wise, and on he couldn't pick the fight with him. So these are all things going on. Both Will Smith and Chris Rock have been globe-trotting. Will Smith has been touring the world filming his new National Geography series Pole to Pole and finishing his latest movies where he plays a runaway slave. And guess what? He's been doing a lot of promotional routes as well. Which means talking about the infamous lap. He's been trying to say he doesn't remember the moment and blaming on his childhood, actually saying it was the little boy that watched his father beat up his mother, all of that just bumbled in the moment. I feel it faked. He was just trying to cover up the incident that he did. The academy well just couldn't sit through, of course. After after the apology, how they handled the whole situation, they dropped the bomb. They banned Will Smith from the Oscar for all the events for the next 10 years after that. And I think that's a right thing to do. Someone who has did something, for me it's not something right to do, go on a stage and do like that. So I think the academy did the right thing by banning him for the next 10 years. Plus they made sure that no ceremony without a race taste ever again, just to avoid any repeat performances to that. And I had to add a little mix more to the spice. His movie, which he was shooting for, got a pretty good review, so it received many nominations. Things could get seriously awkward, but another twist in the tale was that Academy saw an opportunity and invited Chris Rocks to host the Academies again, but he later revealed that he declined it. He said it would be like going back to the scene of the crime, and you can't really blame the guy for that. So the whole Will Smith and Chris Rock Oscar drama was a pretty wild thing, and I think we all know what happened, and everybody has a side. For my side, I think I'll go with for showing the maturity from Chris Rocks, and I think he did a pretty good thing.